Welcome to Culture Binge, the Wisecrack podcast, where we go looking for what's happening in the zeitgeist of our culture and then share it with you. I'm Michael. I'm here with Wisecrack everything man, Alec. Alec, how you doing?
I'm good.
Awesome. And of course, everyone's favorite Wisecrack researcher and woman about town, Serby. Serby, how are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
Good. No one's in anyone about town, though, because that would be irresponsible these days. So if anyone is about to judge Serby for going out to dinner in indoor restaurants every night, that was not true. Lots to talk about today. But before we really get into it, we know what everyone needs. Slaps and chaps, the things that we're loving and the things that we're hating right now. So, Serby, what is slapping and chapping in your life?
Everything chaps. But
Wow.
One thing that made me smile is it's called window-swap.com. You can look at videos and pictures of views from people's windows around the world. It's delightful.
Whoa.
I went to Spain. I went to a few places in England. It was really nice. It's very relaxing. I drank my tea, looked out the window. It's lovely.
That's so nice.
Window-swap.com.
I was doing a version of that for a while where there's the train videos on YouTube where there's like 9-hour cameras on trains going from like Oslo to like northern Norway, and I find those really relaxing too.
Those are
tried
great.
to
I
ride
put
my
those
bike to
on
those
for my grandmother, and she sits there and watches it like it's the biggest sporting event of the year, and she'll be like, "Oh, look, human. Oh, look, there's their house." And I'm like, "Okay, this is not how we're supposed to watch this."
I would be afraid that I would accidentally see like a murder or a crime go down and I wouldn't know who to alert, you know, depending on what country it was in, and then I would be implied in some stuff. Wait, so your chaps is just everything? Is there a specific
everything.
one? Okay,
No, just everything.
To the point, I guess. Very universal. Alec, how about you?
As far as slaps, I saw RoboCop for the first time this last week, and it's amazing. It's a great movie. Everyone should go watch it. As far as what chaps, I'm going to go with, I upgraded to the Tuesday crossword puzzles, and they're too hard. I have to cheat a lot now. And I was feeling really on top of the crossword world with the Mondays, and it was all a lie, and I suck.
Does it get progressively harder throughout the week until Sunday or something? I've never actually done a crossword, so...
I think so. I think Mondays are the easiest, and then Tuesdays are also pretty easy, and then Wednesdays get harder, and then I think Friday might be the hardest. But if someone wants to correct us in the live chat, that would be primo.
Did you ever see that documentary about the crossword puzzle, the New York Times crossword puzzle?
No.
It's pretty good. I don't remember what it was called, but I remember enjoying it quite a bit.
That genuinely sounds interesting. I know some would think that it doesn't, but I want to watch that now.
What about you?
Well, that's fun. Wait, did you say? Oh, what chaps was the crossword puzzle? Sorry. For me, let's see. Slaps. So this is a thank you to a viewer or listener who wrote us last time and recommended that I watch Dating on the Spectrum. I did, and it indeed slaps. It was a really delightful show for so many reasons. Have either of you watched Dating on the Spectrum?
Oh, I watched the whole thing.
Yeah. Just beyond impressed at how great it was. It made me feel a lot of things. There were some really fun moments. Hopefully they do it again. I don't know. That's all I can say. I really liked it.
I think they got a season 2. I kind of just want to follow. I want to follow those people for the rest of their lives, in a stalkery way, really.
Oh yeah, I want to be deep surveillance state just on them.
So what is are they like blind dates, or how does it work?
So it's people on the autism spectrum who are, many of them who haven't dated or had romantic relationships before. They're getting in the game. So there's some of them meet with this incredible Australian dating and relationship coach, Jody. And I want Jody to give me advice in every area of my life. She's one of the most pure and good people I've ever seen. And then they meet up with other people that are also on the autism spectrum, and they, see if they can find love, overcome some hurdles, figure out things about themselves along the way. Our guy Mark talks about dinosaurs a lot. It's great.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Does anybody know Jody? Can they put me in touch with Jody?
Dr.
Okay, everyone listening, everyone watching, you need to get Jody from Australia from Dating on Spectrum and get her contact information so we can connect her and Serby live on this podcast for a session.
I also want Mark on to talk about dinosaurs.
Yes, he knows a lot, and it's incredible. Yes, his life was changed by Jurassic Park, and I think that's awesome. Jurassic Park's the best. And then good point. This is boring, and I guess almost similar to Serby's, but I'll just say what Chaps is. So I've said this before. I like going to see live music. It's my favorite thing. And this morning, I got an alert on my phone reminding me about a concert that I had tickets to tomorrow. And I'm a planner, so I always have concerts in my thing. And it was just like this reminder of the fact that things aren't happening and I don't know when they're going to happen again. And it just bummed me out. So that Chaps, that I still have no idea when one can conceivably stand in a crowded room with poor ventilation surrounded by sweaty, screaming people.
Can't even do that in New Zealand anymore.
I know. I can't even talk about that. New Zealand was my only
so
hope.
Devastating.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get into the topics, we got good stuff. We're going to get you ready to go back to school. We're going to teach you how to throw a COVID party, and we are going to make sure that you are addicted to success. But first, I do want to tell everyone, we have a lot of cool stuff going down on our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Wisecrack. If you haven't checked it out before, I recommend you do. One thing that people will often complain about, and I'm not mad at you for this, in the comments of our videos, is that you don't like watching ads or you don't like taking a break in the middle of it to see an ad or anything like that. Well, we have ad-free videos on the Patreon page, and you get them early as well. So if you have a friend that's also a Wisecrack fan that's not on the Patreon page, you can make fun of them because you've seen the video a day before they have. There's a lot of other cool things on there as well. You get access to our Discord server, so you can ask Alec for questions on how to pot plants in your home or his preferences for sparkling beverages and things like that. So check it out. It's patreon.com/Wisecrack. It's fun. It's a way to support us. It's a way to get some fun perks along the way. But now that that's said, let's get into the topics. So, I guess I'm starting off today to do a sports reference. I'm batting in the first position because this has become a sports podcast in recent weeks. So what I want to talk about is back to school, everyone's favorite time of year, and in particular, getting back to college. So a lot of universities are starting up in the next few weeks. Obviously, this is a weird and scary time because you might have heard there's a pandemic. I almost said pandemic. A pandemic happening right now. And something I've been, interested in is how colleges are handling things, largely because, for much of my life, I would have been teaching or going to college right now. I have a lot of friends that are faculty members who are concerned about this. And I would have thought that most places would be going primarily online at this point, and I'm very wrong. So Davidson University has put together a thing called College Crisis. That's a digital collection of statistics on what different colleges are doing. So as of right now, and they've surveyed, it's 1,442 colleges. 446 are primarily in person. 294 are hybrid. 296 primarily online. 71 fully online. And then 45 they have down as fully in person. So I think the primarily in person are schools where they're lowering class sizes or doing one session online, one session in person. But a lot of schools as well are letting people into dorms. And the New York Times published a thing, when was this? A few days ago. It's called Parents of College Students Worry, Should They Stay or Go? That gets into the issue of parents who are worried about students moving into dorms and stuff right now. A lot of stuff is going on there. A lot of schools are trying to do these minimum quarantines of students or minimize who can be in dorms. It's affecting a lot of lower income students, especially because there's some students that are closing dorms down altogether, and students who rely on housing from the university can't get in there. So it's a really weird time. And it's one of those things as well where I think while a lot of students might be, I guess, a little more casual about this, a lot of faculty members are super worried because a lot of people that teach college classes are older and in groups of people that are more susceptible to illness right now. So it's a weird time. And I'll kind of say what I think, and I'm curious to hear what you all think. But I've had a chance to talk to a couple people about this, and I've had a few younger folks reach out to me asking what I think as someone that no one should ask advice from ever. But my take on it was that no one should go to school. And especially if you're paying $40,000 in tuition or something for a private liberal arts school, I just don't think there's any conceivable universe you should pay that much to either A, be at risk, or B, just watch someone talk on Zoom while you're also have like 10 tabs open and you're looking at like deep Reddit threads about your favorite TV show. So my take has been defer for a semester or a year. And if you want to get ahead, sign up for online classes at a local community college where you'll basically get the same quality of education anyways, because it'll all be online and you'll pay almost nothing for it. I think that like, I don't know, just like when in like, for example, in Los Angeles, they reopened restaurants and a lot of people on the more cautious side were like, this is a bad idea. People shouldn't be eating indoors right now. And then within weeks, Southern California had our biggest outbreak yet that hasn't slowed down since. I don't see how opening colleges isn't going to do the same thing and isn't going to create these disease incubators where even if a lot of the young, healthy folks have asymptomatic cases, they won't be going into town to get like, 2 for $1 Coors Lights at Johnny Boner's Pub and Grill or something, and then infecting all the townies who, have to work because they're not able to pay the rent otherwise. So I don't know. I'm pretty skeptical of this. I'm cautious of it. And to me, it just seems like an all around bad idea. But what do you all think about back to school, and in particular college back to school?
I'm curious, like, obviously coughing, sneezing can spread COVID-19. What about like puking? If you puke on the sidewalk, is it like aerosolized in a way that might linger around longer? Is that kind of a super spreading event? I was just reading about, there was a guy with the SARS outbreak who maybe puked in an elevator that like infected everyone on his hotel floor. So that's bad. Yeah, I think obviously there's like a balance, but I think a lot of this balance is a lot of security theater. As we talked about, I saw on Twitter, one professor, they put like a plexiglass guard in front of the professor. So I guess his or her droplets can't go in that direction. But the guy was, I think around my height, like 6'3" or 4. And, it came like right up to here on him. And so that's stupid. And also air flows in lots of directions. Like maybe that could be a mitigating factor, but I wonder if there's actually any evidence that suggests that, or they're just like, whatever, he'll get his spew into the thing. There's that. There's stuff like huge university lecture classes where it's like every other seat, but of course every other seat is still like well within, 6 feet. And so it seems really dumb. And obviously, in college, I wasn't the awful RA. I was the RA that didn't give a shit. But, I knew things like you would find out about like lots of your residents have health issues and asthma and this or that. They take inhalers. And so, I think for younger people, most who get it will probably be fine. But I think some won't be, or some with asthma or something else might be afraid to go back to school. And then these drunk asshole kids love you dearly, but they're going to go puking, trying to argue with the guy about IDing him for, getting a 40 of Steel Reserve. And so that's bad. It's not even the kids per se. It's everyone they're going to give it to. Yeah. Those are my thoughts.
I feel, so I agree that it's a bad idea. I also feel very bad for the students who rely on housing. And I don't know what to do about them. I mean, they must feel so desperate and so lost. Like, what are we supposed to do? I don't want to get COVID, but I also need to get housing.
Well, I feel like the housing issue
job.
Yeah, but I feel like for a lot of it, isn't the issue that they don't have housing at the university, so it means they have to pay money for off-campus housing if they're there anyways. So if the university was closed, they could at least, many of them, like live at home still.
No, well, yes, but another issue is that campus housing is like a pretty big lifeline for students who are like either homeless or something like that. Yeah. So, if you're homeless but managed to stay in high school and got, what are those called? A scholarship where your housing's paid for. And like, I know in New York State, they have like great programs like this. You're fine. All of a sudden, classes are online. You don't have access to a computer. You don't have access to housing. And I did see some schools are keeping dorms open for the express purpose of basically people would be homeless otherwise. And not even just homeless kids, like even international students who, can't afford to fly back to, say, like Korea, like a million times a year.
Well, then the flip side of that, and sorry, I want to get back to what you're saying on this one. But yeah, I think one of the issues as well is that some of the students then, the universities are saying, if your classes are online, you can't live in the dorms. And that's what's really screwing over a lot of students who don't have housing and are like, my classes are online, but I need a place to live. Can I live here, please? And they're like, no.
And they also don't have access to the internet, like Alec was saying. And saying that they can go to the public library isn't an option. The public libraries in my place are closed down. So
same.
there's like, you can't go to a Starbucks, you can't go to a library. Where are they supposed to do their classwork? So I think, like, I agree that having universities open is not a good idea, but there should be some sort of balance to help those students who are in vulnerable positions and who don't have access to education otherwise. Because I read this article, I've read several articles about how the pandemic is highlighting the differences between classes and income, and it's affecting everyone who doesn't have like strong, their roles don't shift easily to remote work, or they don't have access to the internet and stuff.
Yeah.
So it affects everyone, even elementary school kids, and the parents are like, we don't have strong internet, so where are they supposed to do their schoolwork?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing just in regular school before the pandemic is, especially in New York City, it's very hard to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. So like some kids, like I have friends, mostly one friend. I don't have that many friends. He grew up in New York City, just sleeping like in his living room floor, and he's doing fine now and stuff like that. But it's not like he had a separate place to do homework. And so this is a big problem when teachers send stuff home, is that kids don't have a quiet place to do it. You know, their parents are doing God knows what. But especially in the pandemic, if those parents are now working from home and also kids doing homework and, you know, all the other kids are also home with them, it's just a fucking nightmare. I feel so bad for anyone with a child right now.
So I was talking to a friend of mine who's an executive at her company, and so I asked her, you know, are her kids going back to school? Is she going to send them? And she said she wants the kids to be safe. She doesn't want to send them to school. But she also said, my job requires me to work from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Like, I cannot be away from my computer. And my husband is the same way. So she's like, the kids are just like on their own the entire time. And they're too young to be disciplined to do their own schoolwork. So she's like, I'm in this weird position where I know that it's bad to send the kids to school, but I also know that my kids are just unsupervised for 12 hours a day. And I don't know what to do about it.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's definitely people I know who have kids who are getting jack shit done right now, and to no fault of their own. I totally understand it. And I'm like, man, I wish, like, should I just try to equal it out and also not do anything? No, I'm just kidding. But still, like, that's the thought I have of like, well, you're only working like 2 hours a day. I wonder if I should.
Yeah. I mean, you know, not to get too meta here, but just another example of how fragile our entire system is at every level, that things are thrown out of balance this deeply with something like this. Very upsetting. And yeah, I guess it's hard to talk about, you know, something isolated like education without also getting into housing and getting into jobs. Because another thing in the New York Times piece, there were students who their school shut down or went online. And, you know, the thought was, okay, I'll go home and get a job. But there's like no jobs for anyone to get. So there was tales of, you know, 19-year-olds living at home, already depressed, in a small sized town where there's no one hiring anyone anyways. And then because they weren't already employed, they're unable to get unemployment. So they're kind of just, I think the French technical term is just shit out of luck in every way, shape, and form. And it's a huge bummer. And I mean, you even wonder too, like, and this is something I don't know a lot about, so I don't want to seem like I'm full of shit. And if you know about this in the chat, but I have seen some people talk about like the potential psychological trauma as well for young people of everything they're going through right now and the long-term ramifications. And that's also really scary, just because for a lot of people, whether it's high school or college or whatnot, you know, these are like formative years, formative experiences and times of life where a lot of people are lucky enough to have some sense of like safety or security before going into the nihilist onslaught of the real world. So it's sad to think about what a lot of younger people are losing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I also think this is going to sound really weird, but just stick with me. It's kind of nice that it's across the board. So it's like the great equalizer. So you're not going to be the only one who's like dealing with long-term effects from this. It's like everybody's doing it. So
you sound like Matthew McConaughey, because Matthew McConaughey put out this video when it first happened where he was sitting outside with a whiskey and he was like, "This is the great equalizer."
Oh no, I don't.
Serving McConaughey, I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. Some kids are going to go back to their homes in Long Island and like go on fun yacht trips, and some kids are going to be
Yeah, there's like definitely kids who are they're in their like family's third home, and their tutor, who's like a Princeton classics professor that dad knows from the Skull and Bones Society, is tutoring them or something like that in a VR machine.
Hey, Skull and Bones is Yale.
Oh yeah, my bad. Well, no, okay. So the Princeton, he's a professor at Princeton, but they did their undergrad together at Yale, where they were in Skull and Bones with George Bush. Any members, and if you're in Skull and Bones, by the way, reach out. We want to hear from you. Full anonymity, no judgment whatsoever. We are really
any
into
secret society, really.
Any secret society, please get in touch. We want to know more. So and I would just say, as we kind of wrap this up, unless anyone else has any big thoughts on this, and we'll tell you all this later, but if you are, a college student right now, if things are weird, if you're confused, if something weird is going on your campus, we'd love to hear about it. We can't help you. So don't think that I'm saying right now, we'd love to help you. There's honestly nothing we can do except provide you with awesome content that explores many of your favorite subjects in fun ways.
And empathize.
We do that. And we can empathize. But do let us know. We'd be curious to hear what's going on in different colleges and how you all are managing with that sort of stuff. So as always, culturebinge at wisecrack.co. But I started off with a bummer, and I feel bad about that. So, Alec, everyone knows I'm the boring one. Everyone knows you're the party person. Can you talk to us? I think, if I understand the topic correctly, you're going to do advice on how to throw ragers in a pandemic?
That's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk, though, about people doing that. But, I got to read the notes. But there's a couple of people I want to shout out in the
awesome.
chat. Dude Abides, as always, how goes the hunt for new shows to watch, Serby? Anything like I recommended last episode?
So,
wow.
The hunt is improving after everyone's recommendations. I added Money Heist to my list, and more international shows. I'm very excited. I haven't there was one show that Norseman I just started watching. I don't know if I like it or not, but I keep watching it. So we'll see.
Those shows.
Yeah.
The next comment, thanks for the donation, nope, rather not, who's telling us before anybody else that their wife is pregnant.
Yay!
Wow.
Too early to tell friends and family, but I gotta tell someone, and this is anonymous, right? As long as nope, rather not is not your username in a million other places, it's anonymous.
Or your government
name.
Thanks
for the podcast in this anxiety-ridden time. Keep up the good work. Congratulations.
Seriously, that's so exciting.
You.
The joy of new life. I've had some friends that have had kids during this time, and it seems like they found it to be very nice and a fun distraction and a new thing to do. So congrats. Send us baby pictures once all this happens and you're allowed to. But speaking of
their name and social security number.
Yeah.
So speaking of, there was this article in New York Times by Taylor Lorenz called "Why Influencers Won't Stop Partying Anytime Soon." This concerns all these people. I'm at this point too old to really know or understand, but people like Jake Paul and Tana, whatever her name is. Here is a quote from it. In late July, dozens of social media stars flocked to the Hype House, a Hollywood Hills mansion where several top TikTok creators live, for a birthday party. The decor was glittery and pink, with balloons and silver streamers strewn about. Hello Kitty strobe lights pulsed over a crowded dance floor. The scene, as portrayed on social media, had an air of pre-pandemic normalcy. In several videos from the party, no one is wearing a mask. This had 70 guests, hundreds more waiting outside, trying to get in, partying outside. Again, featured lots of cool people I'd never heard of, but I do recognize the names James Charles and that Tana lady who kind of had like a failed VidCon attempt. Jake Paul wasn't at this party, but he's throwing his own parties. And so they're doing these in the larger LA area, causing Mayor Eric Garcetti to threaten them to shut off their power and electricity. Which I'm a real big fan. You see those videos of Italy of like some mayor like chasing around kids with like a pot and a pan, being like, "Get out of here, you fucks." I think we need more of that, and turning off someone's electricity is some version of that. But this isn't exactly why I'm talking about this. Obviously, I hate these people. But what I think more interesting is the weird dynamic that they use to rationalize it, which is like, this is our jobs. Now, obviously, having a job in a pandemic, is it essential? Is it not essential? Is like, can sometimes be a very gray area, If you, as we've talked about, if you're an NBA player, is people's entertainment essential? If you manufacture carpets like one of our fans. People need carpets, but maybe we could put those on pause. And so it's tricky. But I feel like it's not a gray area when it comes to TikTok influencers. The founder of Hype House said, "Our jobs are to entertain people. We live in groups of people and we are all intertwined for work. We can't put our entire lives on hold for a year and not make any money." Now, I don't know their financials, but I think they could not make any money for a year, knowing the sort of lifestyle they live. But there's also a quote in this article from this other creator Malik Ernest, who basically says, like, listen, I'm trying to make it to break in this industry. Like, I have to go to these parties and show my face. And it brings up this other question of, is TikTok basically just the worst form of like commodified high school, of like becoming the popular kid? This person said showing their face at parties has been very beneficial. I don't know. What do you all think?
I just don't understand the whole TikTok thing. Like, with the celebrity stuff. Like, are they like the new celebrities? Like, people are like, oh, what are they doing? How are they what are they up to?
To a very certain generation. There's a generation of people to whom TikTok stars would be to, I don't know, one of us, if we saw like Ryan Gosling at the coffee shop or something. They would be as excited to see one of these folks as we might be to see like Ryan Gosling or Brie Larson or something. Sandra Day O'Connor.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, first of all, I think these people can make money by not going to these pandemic parties. Like, can't they just do sponsorships on TikTok and all that sort of stuff like all the other influencers do?
Well, the thing is, if you're an influencer, your whole thing is like, I live this glamorous, excessive lifestyle. And if you're not, a lot of times it's fake. I mean, not super fake, but it's like, look at my mansion or this view, or I'm going to pretend to have this nice time. I'm not. But also it's like, if you're stuck inside, that's not very glamorous. And like, where are you going to get your content from, bro?
Yeah, but it is true. Like, I used to work at a company that was started by an influencer, and I got to see some of this like influencer stuff. And it involves like, these people will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to go on trips to make content, to live a life that is not their life, that they can't afford, and potentially go into massive debt for the sake of trying to then use their luxurious lifestyle to get deals with luxury brands and stuff like that. Like, it's a pretty dark and fucked up system. Although there are tons of like the best people on TikTok that are just funny people that are in their homes that make videos. So I think there is like another class of like TikTok influencer or people that are very successful that don't necessarily need a mansion in the hills to create their content. And I do know that Jake Paul wants to fight someone. So
Jake Paul's house was also raided by the FBI for looting.
And there was like guns and stuff. There was like machine guns and shit in his house. Serby, this is a very popular influencer who has a brother. I think they're romantically entangled, but I'm not sure. And one of the brothers, I think Jake Paul, posted on his social media that he wants to wrestle another influencer and he will dominate them. So I do think all of us to an extent count.
I'll dominate you.
Yes, Serby has said that she will wrestle Jake Paul. After you get her in touch with Jody, the awesome therapist from Australia, let's get her in touch with Jake Paul so she can rock his ass.
I think Serby should do financial domination for these people. Do you know what that is,
Oh,
Serby?
yeah.
No, what is that?
Let's talk
So it's a style of dominatrix that specifically like financially dominates the submissive person. So like finance bros, not all of them, but some of them will like pay women to like quote unquote steal consensually their credit card and be like, yeah, fuck you, I just spent like $10,000, I'm gonna spend your money, like you don't deserve, like they'll basically demean them while also spending their money. It seems like something you might be interested in, Serby.
Totally interested in this.
Wow.
I would 100% buy like houses, gold bars, like things that will like grow. This is incredible. Does anybody want me to financially dominate you? Please get in touch.
Hit us up in the chat.
Podcast,
But aren't we all fin-dommed by the market? You know, aren't we all already participating in that? So I decided to be that guy. But yeah, so Alec, is this the thing then where, I don't know, is with the Hype House and everything, is this like one specific crew of influencers that are there? Okay, so it's not everyone, and it's just the Hype House people. Are there certain?
Well, but no, other ones are like Jake Paul's not a part of that, and he's also throwing parties, and people from like other, I guess, TikTok cliques or influencer cliques are also going, And like some of the stuff in the article, the guy at the hype house is like basically like, oh, we're our own little bubble. And it's like, not when you invite 100 people, you dumbass.
Yeah.
They're
I mean, are
also
they
getting
getting
COVID
regular
tests
testing?
like all the time, which again like kind of reminds me of the NBA thing, where again like I don't know, the NBA is doing a good job. Lots of people need sports. Lots of people need to watch TikTok. But I think there's an air of self-importance about these fucking assholes that I hate so much.
I feel better about NBA players getting regular COVID testing than I do influencers. I'll just say it. And maybe there's no ethical argument I could make, but for whatever reason, it bothers me much less because they're providing something that everyone can watch and hang out with. Whereas I just don't think influencers are important as like LeBron James and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I know who those people are.
Yeah, he's the Greek freak. He's a Greek basketball player with a last name that's meant that every NBA announcer has had to learn how to pronounce long Greek names, but he's the best. Although he just headbutted a guy 2 days ago and is now out. But once again, this is not a sports show. Back to influencers.
So as much as I rail on influencers and influencer culture, I also think that would I turn that down? Like if somebody was like, hey, Survey, do you want to, like, for example, just throwing it out there, if KLM was like, hey, do you want to be like the face of KLM? I would be like, absolutely.
I don't even know what KLM is, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's something really appealing about doing nothing. These people work hard. I'm not, like, even though I hate them, I do legitimately believe most of them work hard.
Yeah.
At whatever bullshit skill that they have. But yeah, there is an appeal to being like, oh, I'm just going to make money because people know my face. I basically want money for nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen,
why would any of us
Polar
turn that
Seltzer
down?
wants to pay me to drink seltzer all day. I'll do it.
That'd be a sick job. Seltzer's so good.
If anybody wants to sponsor
what's
us,
KLM?
let us. KLM is
airline.
Airline.
Dutch, right?
Okay.
Yeah, Dutch airline. It's so good. I would only fly KLM now. Like everybody's so friendly and they're so kind and they give snacks.
I think I did one KLM flight once and it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Wow, so KLM, you're going to sponsor Sherby, Polar Seltzer, Alec. I'm going to figure out what I want.
Yeah.
And then we'll make it happen.
Anyway, I just wanted to bring this up. I didn't have a ton of very insightful things to say about it.
No, but I'd be curious to too as well. Once again, if you have thoughts on this in the chat, let us know. And I mean, my only other thought on this is like, I don't know how everyone feels about this. I do not like when I see people on social media doing like fun social party stuff. I don't think it's cute. I don't think it's aspirational. All I think is like, you're being an asshole right now to have fun with your friends, while a lot of us are sacrificing those sort of things to try to make things better for you who we don't even know. And there's a reality show star that me and my partner enjoy, and she was posting pictures from a trip in like Bali yesterday, and we were like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. So that's another reason I don't like these people.
Banned from everywhere.
Yeah, so these people are like illegally smuggling themselves into countries for content.
Yeah.
No.
I just heard that American citizens can get into Croatia. And
We
I was
can?
like,
Yeah.
no.
I think it's like Croatia, Mexico, and the UK maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, Canada's trying to build a wall.
Thank God.
We do have a comment from Vincent. Have you guys heard of Fall Guys? I'm going to bet that Serby hasn't, but maybe she has.
So I've only heard of the word because Joy, our wonderful producer, said, look at Fall Guys, and it's funny. Or like people watching Fall Guys. It's funny.
I will just say I just bought it. I haven't played it yet. But I did it at the recommendation of Joy and also my other friend who's playing. It's a game.
PC?
It's PC and also PlayStation, and it's, as far as I can tell, having not played it, it's like it's got a real Mario Party vibe to it.
Oh.
Wow.
So anyway, Serby,
Yes.
what do you want to talk about?
I'm going to talk about success addicts. So
Ooh.
what is a success addict? Well, it's somebody who has a never-ending quest for more success, and so they're left perpetually unsatisfied and incapable of happiness. And it all starts with a single praise, a single compliment, and that rush of dopamine gets them hooked. So the author of this article in The Atlantic, Arthur Brooks, says he knows a bit about being a success addict, and explains it this way. He says, anyone can do the things it takes to be happy, going on vacation with family, relaxing with friends, but not everyone can accomplish great things. And I can see that, and it sounds a bit wild, and I guess it's human nature to desire success. Psychologist Barbara Killinger has found that people willingly sacrifice their own well-being through overwork to keep getting hits of success. And psychologist William James once noted, we are not only gregarious animals liking to be in sight of our fellows, but we have an innate propensity to get ourselves noticed favorably by our kind. And we see examples of this every day. We have TikTokers going to pandemic parties. We have athletes taking performance-enhancing substances. And there's a study that said 14% of elite performers would rather have would take a performance-enhancing substance if it caused a fatal heart condition, if in exchange they could get an Olympic medal. And it's not just the ultra successful who do this. We see moments in our own lives too. How many of us have spent an extra hour doing something rather than spend time with our family or friends? But what happens when success stops and the career is over, the person retires, is that they're left with anxiety and stress and depression because they've become dependent upon success as their single source of happiness. They don't know how to be happy without being successful. So we have heard from like the Game of Thrones cast who have said they've struggled, the Friends cast who have said they struggled when the show's over. People have gone to rehab. They've had substance abuse problems. And what do you think? We're all three of us are accomplished in some ways. Do you
Very
feel
much so.
like you choose specialness over happiness? Do you feel like you have felt like a success addict in times? Do you ever feel like you have put off ordinary delights in favor of meeting a goal?
See, I mean, this is where I think this is a boring thing to say, but I'm kind of Aristotelian. I think that the Greek dead philosopher Aristotle, he's not still alive, was good on stuff like this because, yeah, R.I.P. Aristotle, we're still mourning your loss. But something that Aristotle said is that what we all strive after as humans is happiness. And people are like, yeah, dope, happiness rips. But when he talked about happiness, he was careful to distinguish it from sort of misguided attempts at happiness. For him, real happiness is striving after some sort of goal that we deem is good in some infinite way where we're building these good habits and striving for virtue. Bad happiness for him is like, for example, he thinks money is bullshit because when we want money, we don't want money. We just want other stuff. So it creates this like psychotic infinite regress. And then like he talks about honor, like getting prestige in society. He's like, well, that's bullshit because other people can take it away, right? Like if I'm only famous because people think I'm famous, if they don't think I'm famous anymore, who cares? So I guess I would say that, like, I think that the idea of striving for success in itself isn't bad, but I think when it gets used for certain ends, it is. Because I don't know, like I think I like trying to be successful, but I think sometimes my metric for that might be that like writing something that I feel happy with, even if it doesn't get made or doesn't make me money, or playing music with my friends in a way that feels good, even if it's not, you know, a fiscally advantageous thing. To me, that seems fine. The thing, to be a little on Team Aristotle, once again, rest in peace, we can't believe you're gone here, is that the idea that like when it gets conflated with fully like fiscal accumulation, that to me gets messy because it just creates this like psychotic urge that can never be fulfilled.
Yeah, I agree. I also feel specifically like at risk for this kind of thing, and it's because I'm a 90s kid that was told that I was the most
True.
special person who's going to be the president of the United States.
You are gonna be.
And I think that's bad. It's I mean the best correlate I could think of is that YouTube's has like all these numbers I can look at, and so I will check the numbers, and we'll have like streaks where it's like, oh, these videos are like doing great, everyone's watching them, everyone likes them, all this shit's happening, and it's like just a rush of endorphins that make me feel really great in that time. And then when a video doesn't do well, it's fucking awful. And the solution is I can't just like I either have to look at all the stats or none of the stats, and now I'm just like, no, I'm just not going to check this. I mean, I do have to check it to some extent for work, but I can get too caught up into like, oh, now it's 300,000, now it's 400,000, now it's 500,000. But I think it's sort of that success thing in that like it's always fleeting. I think like a lot of this is weirdly embodied in House of Cards in Frank Underwood, in that there's this like discrepancy between he wants to become like this immortal success who does all these awful things, and the thing that makes him most angry is like a Buddhist sand mandala, which is like that sand art that gets like erased away immediately. But you know, you can even think about like our jobs here at Wisecrack. There are like tons of people. It's like, if I only had like this sweet ass job, like I'd be happy forever. And then like I understand that like in that sense I'm sort of the envy of some people, but then I'm like, oh man, if only like I'm not like, oh sweet, I got it, I'm like good forever. I mean, I try to be, because whatever, but I'm always like, no, now I gotta like do this next big great thing, and it's a very Sisyphusian nightmare.
Well put.
So I think there have been times in my life when I've been a success addict. Like in college, I was a straight A student. I was like president of everything, involved in everything. And then I was so used to being like involved. And so when I graduated, I didn't know what to do with myself. And then when I decided not to go to law school, I felt like such a failure. I was like, well, what am I going to do? Like, why did I even want to go to law school in the first place? I wanted to go to medical school. So I think that was crushing to me. And so ever since then, I've been very aware of not being dependent upon achievements. I'm still very goal oriented. Like even in my career, I will have to tell my manager, like, I'm goal oriented. You need to give me like tasks and things, like long-term things that I need to accomplish in order for me to feel fulfilled. But I think that for me, it's tied to anxiety. Like it's not so much as feeling like a success addict, but it's more about, I feel like I need to work hard and overwork sometimes because I don't want to get fired, or I don't want my manager to be mad at me, or I don't want to be left behind in the industry. So if I ever get laid off or fired, I can get a job the next week. And a lot of it has to do with like past experiences working at horrible startups, and another part is just that baseline. I'm just kind of an anxious person. But I do think that I am very similar to Alec in the sense that I was told that I was special growing up, and I never quite shook that. And I feel like, but if I do this, then like that'll make me still be special. And it's not that I want other people to think that I'm special. It's more that I want to feel special myself. So it's this like ongoing competition that I have with myself to continue to improve and to acquire things. I don't know. I think a lot of it is just like anxiety, really.
Do you think a lot of that for you, and if this is too personal, I apologize. I'm trying to be Dr. Jody right here. I don't know if she's a doctor, but she is in my mind. Okay, so do you think that a lot of that comes, is it like a self-created anxiety about achievement and success, or do you think that comes from the institutions you're participating in, whether that be a company or a college or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, so, is the drive and the anxiety that accompanies it kind of internally produced, do you think?
So it was internally produced, and then the career that I selected and the industry that I selected to go into, it exacerbated what was already there. So I think it didn't help like what I wanted to do. It feels like I constantly have to be like always really, really good at what I'm doing. So that didn't help. So both, I guess.
I think it's when there's like a doctor, and there's lots of these in history, so it's like, I'm going to make my mark. I'm going to, who was the guy? The guy who did ice pick lobotomies. Very disgraced in the medical community now. I think he's dead. Not a good doctor. His grandfather was also a doctor and had done like the first open heart surgery and all this crazy shit. I can't remember his name. And so like he was living under the shadow of him, and is like, I need to make my mark. And that sort of success addict, I'm a little bit, it's not that I'm more sympathetic to it. Like I still think it's probably psychologically unhealthy, but I think it's a different thing to be like, I'm going to change the face of medicine because I want to help people, and I want, you know, people with anxiety and depression to live better lives by missing a chunk of their frontal lobe. That's not how it works. Don't do that. But he thought that. And so that's fine. But then I also see the same mentality of like the most bullshit and like let's just say marketing, or I even met a person recently. I'm going to try to divorce this as much as reality. They're in something like as exciting as I would say like a mid-tier paper company. Let's say they were in charge of it, and they're just like, we're going to change the face of paper forever. We're going to leave our mark. I'm like, dude, it's fine. It's really fine. Like you could just sell paper, and like you're not curing cancer here. It's fine. And even if you were curing cancer, maybe that's not the metric you should hold yourself up to.
Well, it is kind of that Silicon Valley mindset. Like I read this book recently called Uncanny Valley by Anna something. I always feel bad when I can't remember people's names. She's a woman from New York who started out as a writer and then ended up falling into the startup world and moved to Silicon Valley, blah, blah, blah. And it's great because you kind of have this outsider's perspective. Then she becomes, inside that culture. But the thing you see over and over is people whose aspiration always has to be to completely disrupt industry X, completely change field Y. And it just sets up, and I think that Silicon Valley mindset has infected places outside of the Bay Area now, especially in like success-seeking millennials, that kind of like you say, Alec, with the paper company, it's only good enough if you are completely changing the game. You're only good enough if you're radically disrupting this industry forever, rather than just being able to say like, yeah, do a good job, be nice to people. That's great. That's successful.
Yeah. And also it's like, if you change the face of paper, I mean, everyone uses paper. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but like, I don't know.
But do they have to? If we disrupt the industry, maybe we'll forget about paper because that's what our startup will do.
Let's just say you became like the LeBron James of like manufacturing candy corn. Like, who gives a shit? Like, I mean, there's the part of me, it's like, oh, like you worked hard and you made it to the top, like feel proud of that. But also it's like, I left my mark on candy corn. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no one cares. But that's the thing. Yeah, if you are the LeBron James or like the Cardi B of your world, yeah, people are gonna remember you because you are in entertainment or sports, and they'll remember you for years. But yeah, if you're the person that invents the cool new candy corn thing, even if you make tons of money, like no one cares, and you might still be at the grocery store, and someone might bump into you and be like, out of my way, geek! I'm trying to get Twizzlers for this party I'm going to at a mansion.
Cool. Anything else, Serby?
No. If you are a success addict, good luck in your recovery.
Yeah, and you don't have to not want achievement, but reorient your goals there. Think about some things you can be. Maybe being successful is being a dope parent or a good friend or a great partner or a wonderful pet owner. All of these things count too. Sorry, I sound like a dumb self-help coach, but I just want people to be happy.
The best Fall Guy players that's ever existed.
The best Fall Guy. Well, speaking of Fall Guy players, did I see a comment that someone is interested in seeing some Wisecrack live game streaming with Serby being involved to some extent?
There was yes. Sorry that I'm stuttering so much. Yeah, there was that. I would do it. We're just bad at games. People are going to be like, you're not a real gamer. You suck at Fall Guys.
Yeah. Can we just do Jackbox instead?
We have done that. We can do more in the future.
That's always a fun one, and then people can vote for us, so they're involved too. They're not just passively watching. I don't know. But I can't say anything because I can't play games.
You can't play games. Anyway, do we have voicemails to get into? How do people leave a voicemail?
Oh my God, this is great. And honestly, for me, I have been wasting time the last 45 minutes. This has been just garbage on every front. To get to this point, we want to hear from you. We love hearing from you. It's the only thing that matters to us. Success as a metric in my life is the number of emails and voicemails we get. How do you do that, you ask? You do it this way. You call us, 213-534-8807. I'll say it again, 213-534-8807. Call us. You don't have to use your real name if that makes you feel weird. You can use a fake voice for all we care, but call us. Let us know what you think. Tell us things you think we should be interested in. Tell us how we're wrong. Tell us how we're right. Tell us things that you're enjoying. Or email us. culturebinge@wisecrack.co. No M. culturebinge@wisecrack.co. We'd love to hear from you. And I think, if I'm not incorrect, that we have a voicemail.
Hey, this is Misaez calling from Alabama. Just listening to you guys' Culture Binge episode about the Bubble Boys. Another sports franchise or group, the MLS, Major League Soccer in the U.S., did the same thing in Orlando. The only thing is that they're doing pretty good as well, like the NBA, but two teams, Nashville and Dallas, they actually had to basically forfeit the whole tournament because they had infected players. So the MLS just, basically disqualified them from being able to compete. And I just thought that was a pretty cool, responsible way of handling that situation. And and then in Europe, most all soccer teams are as well traveling to each other's stadiums. So I guess it's better over there. But either way, thanks guys. I enjoy listening to you guys' discussions and keep up the good work.
That's such a nice voicemail.
Thank you so
Robbie.
much. And that's cool to know. And it's, I think, two sides of that, right? In one sense, it sucks that cases broke out amongst MLS teams, but good that they just shut those down rather than how in professional baseball right now there's outbreaks and they're still trying to make it work.
Very irresponsible.
Baseball is just the worst
Yeah.
sport. I'm sorry.
But just to update, I'm going to keep updating on this. Still no cases in the NBA bubble. However, I will update this news. They are now going to allow family members and close personal friends inside the bubble. And I'm just going to say this. A lot of NBA players are young men, single, with lots of money. There are thoughts that they are going to want to bring in romantic
Someone to financially
paramours.
dominate them?
Yes, findom, or just people to have sex with. But so there's worries that a bunch of people are going to come into the bubble and someone might have that Rona with them. So we'll update you if it happens because we know that's why you tune in. Are there any emails this week?
The first one is from Gregory. Gregory says, "Hi, Culture Binge crew. Loving the New Zealand love. While your praises are appreciated, it may not help our egos or smugness on our freedom." Serby should come to New Zealand. She would love it. There's no need to tip. We have great minimum wage laws. That means tipping isn't required. Yeah.
Yes, everyone knows you hate tipping.
Though if you want, you can tip at restaurants. She's not going to.
No.
Tipping anywhere else is weird, and you will probably get judged severely. Love your podcast and love what you guys do. I'm off to dinner. So glad that you can do that, Gregory. With mates, followed by a couple pints at the pub.
You
Big
son
love,
of
and hope
a...
y'all are keeping safe. Gregory from New Zealand.
Oh,
Wow.
Gregory from New Zealand. I need to move to New Zealand. What a dreamland.
Well,
No
you know what?
tipping.
Gregory got a little smug, and I'll just say, the New York Times today had a headline about how things aren't going so well over there. They had like 4 cases.
Not well for New Zealand is like they've got 5 people who are infected. It's fine.
Yeah, we all probably have more cases in our direct neighborhoods than that entire country has.
Probably in my building. All right. This one is from... Sorry. This is from Matthias about what sounds like is possibly the best dating show that ever existed. This is, I think, is probably prompted by Serby.
Matthias.
Sure. Matthias. Hey, Culture Binge peeps. After hearing Do We Need Sports during a pandemic, the end where Michael jokingly mentioned a Dutch dating show involving sea creatures, at that moment, I thought the following dating show, although it's not in your language, might spark Michael's interest. In the Netherlands, there's a program called Farmer Wants Wife. It has been running for over 11 seasons with usually more than 1 million viewers per episode. The program gives the possibility to farmers who are in a more isolated position to find a possible partner. 10 farmers are given a brief introduction, after which all the people within the country have the time to write letters to these farmers. Most of them receiving tens, but some up to hundreds of letters. The 5 farmers with the most letters have to pick 10 letters. Each episode, a contestant has to leave, which is formatted somewhat Bachelor-esque. However, contrary to other programs, the contestants often have to do activities and help on the farm. This not only gives contestants the idea whether they really want to live on the farm, but also the viewer unique insight into what a farmer's life actually is like. The final 3 even have to stay at the farm for a week, which often leads to some culture shock. These farmers and their interactions are often quite amusing to spectate, since they are socially quite different, but their underlying desires, considering their circumstances, make it also empathizing. Best regards from the Netherlands. Wow. I want to watch this shit right now.
Yeah.
The best.
I mean, to avoid hyperbole, I'll just say, if I don't watch this show soon, I hope that God strikes me down, because life will not be worth living if I can't watch this. This sounds amazing.
The Dutch name, I'm going to butcher it, which is why I didn't say it. And just to say it's Boer, like the Boer War.
Mm-hmm.
Boer zoekt Veru? I don't know. I probably fucked that up real hard.
Voorzoekt fruit? How is it?
Yeah.
It means farmer wants wife. if you know
Wow.
any of
The
those
2
words.
things I know in Dutch are dankjewel and do it normaal.
Okay, do it
Dankjewel.
normaal.
Yeah.
Is that
Oh,
what,
that's
is
my
that what you say to your findom?
No, I say do it nasty and big to my findom.
Okay.
And then when she's done, you say dankjewel.
Yeah. My Findom would get
That
bored
seems-
very quickly. Like, they could dominate me, I would say, in a matter of minutes, even if they had access to everything. But if they dominated my debt, that would be awesome. Is there that type of Findom?
Yeah.
That takes
Scum.
on my
you
debt?
need me
Like,
to pay off your student debt because you're worthless scum.
Yeah, I took all your debt, you piece of shit. Please, yes, I'm a bad boy. Sorry, more emails?
No, I think that's it for this week.
Awesome. Well, those are really good, but they're all really good, and we want more. We want to be email and call domed, which is where you dominate us by writing us and calling us. So once again, culturebinge@wisecrack.co and 213-534-8807. Before we go, as always, if you would like to stalk us, find us online, know more about us, where can you find us, Serby?
Suri Patel 22 on Twitter.
Wow, and they'll be on screen
on
as
the
well if you're
screen.
watching. Yeah, but if you're not watching, Alec, where could they find you?
At Wisecrack Alec.
Wow, and I'm at Michael O'Burns. So find us, see what's up, and tell us about more incredible Dutch shows that involve farmers finding love. But unless there's anything else we got to get to, that's been it for this time. We'll be back in a couple weeks, and we can't wait to talk to you then.
Bye.
Right.